Shana Tova. What a pleasure it is to be with you and with you all who are online, and to know that we, along with so many other people, are able to offer these prayers together. I want to share an image with you. You'll pardon me for a few moments. Some may recognize this. Dubbed the Comic Cliffs by those who first viewed this photograph, this landscape of mountains and valleys is actually the leading edge of a close by, relatively speaking, young star-forming region in the Carina Nebula, as seen by the new James Webb telescope. Well, the telescope may not be new, but its images coming back to us are certainly new. The tallest peaks in this image are about 7 light years high. That's only about 41 trillion miles if you're counting. The human mind cannot easily comprehend those kinds of distances unless you're a rocket scientist, I suppose. We are simply awed by them as we consider, or perhaps reconsider, our own place in this universe. But now let us bring together a more familiar image, I guess, the gathering of faces in our sanctuary tonight, and add to them a whole raft of online worshipers. And then to them, we add the millions of Jews worshiping these same prayers all around the world tonight. Oof, this is a lot of community to behold. And when we think of that multitude, we might consider these words that we find in our tradition. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your very dwellings, O Israel. And many of us recognize this phrase. For centuries, we Jews have recited this watchword every morning in our daily worship. And of course, we also read them from its original source in the book of Numbers. I guess if you think about it, it might seem a little arrogant that we recite these words of self-praise every day. But considering the centuries of oppression that we have lived through, we might deserve some comfort. Now, in that passage from the book of Numbers, I was going to take my mask off, so I'm going to do that. And I forgot, so sorry. In that passage from the book of Numbers, the soothsayer for hire, Balaam, a Hittite and an enemy of the Israelite people, agrees to place a curse upon the people of Israel as our nation prepared to enter the promised land. Yet, arriving at the top of that promontory overlooking the Jordan River Valley, and Balaam beheld a stunning sight. Encamped before him were a storied 600,000 souls, arrayed in tribes, sections, neighborhoods, pavilions. Beholding this vision, Balaam could not curse them. He was compelled, rather, as we know, to praise them, to bless them. How beautiful are your tents, O Jacob, your very dwellings, O Israel. Those were the words he spoke, says the Torah to us. And we have tried to live up to those expectations by taking our place as a magnificent community devoted to noteworthy and positive human principles. Now, you may not realize this. If you read the text carefully next time, you might. Balaam also envisioned something additional, something below the surface beauty of the people. Among his praises, he included a difficult prophecy that has proven particularly resilient over time. It is an impression of Israel's character that is revealed, I think, that has revealed something problematic about Jewish destiny and our place in the world. Among the 3 chapters or so devoted to Balaam's praise of Israel, he also divined these words. Hen am levadad yishkon uvagoyim lo yitchashav. Behold, says Balaam, this is a people that will tend to live toward isolation and will not even be considered among the other nations. These are words clearly that we do not offer in prayer each morning. Still, let us sit with the import of these words for a few moments. is being alone and isolated a virtue? Has our living apart from other nations brought us comfort? Is this something that God really desired for us throughout our existence? Now, the Midrashic commentators of the first millennium of the Common Era recognized this quandary and tried to assure the people of Israel of the goodness of these words. They would say something like, yes, we are destined to be unique, alone. We observe different holidays from our non-Jewish neighbors. We follow unique commandments of ritual purity. We follow requirements for ethical farming, intricate dietary laws. But let us not be discouraged or dissatisfied by our exceptional role in observing these divine instructions. Israel should accept its being different and isolated, because a valuable trove of benefits can emanate from that status. That the people of Israel would exist in isolation from the rest of the world has proven to be prophetic. And whether this vision was a prediction by an ancient seer or a desire articulated by an ancient enemy or simply an astute observation of an ancient eyewitness, we Jews have indeed lived and traveled alone over many years. We experienced expulsions and exile. We have been subject to ghettoization. We are suspicious and wary and cautious of those who might wish to be our friends. We turned inward over time and across continents, either inadvertently or intentionally, fulfilling the prediction of Balaam back in the book of Numbers. Despite our efforts and successes at assimilating into modern societies, some of us still feel isolated. Some of us might still feel as though we are the other. But the prophet Isaiah, writing for a later period of our people's history, encouraged the Israelites returning from their 70-year-long Babylonian exile to view themselves not in a different light, but in an allied kind of light. Isaiah prophesied something different from Balaam. Isaiah prophesied that we were destined to be a light to the nations, a beacon that beckoned everyone to a better life. Internally, this light signaled that the vibrancy of Jewish life was not dependent on any outside recognition or acceptance, because we were safeguarded by God. We had God's protection to hide within and under, and perhaps we were destined to be eternal outsiders, but still we exist as a visible and effective moral conscience for the world. Consider that, O Israel. In Isaiah's eyes, we were to become a people who behave ethically and who serve as moral exemplars in both safe and perilous times. From our contemporary standpoint, being the outsider has not been easy. Throughout our history, we've been assaulted by countless enemies. Our actions have not brought us many friends. Many have opined that our status as moral teachers is, in fact, one of the origins of anti-Semitism. From ancient to modern times, we have suffered prejudice, banishment, destruction, and decimation at the hands of strangers. After particularly violent eras in our history, of course, we thought that maybe the world now is more educated, or that anti-Semitism will decrease as we bring knowledge and goodwill to others. But as so many things are in the world, history repeats itself in cycles, and we have been disappointed as anti-Semitism disappears. Like today, white Christian nationalist conspiracy theories have raised the ancient false canard of an international Jewish plan of world domination. White nationalist demonstrations, including the August 2017 march in Charlottesville, The January 6th attack at the U.S. Capitol building and others have featured neo-Nazi images and anti-Semitic memes and tropes in their March Day and online presences. White Christian nationalist conspiracy hallucinations have referred to Jews trying to replace Americans of European descent with black and brown people. These are just a few of the real examples of the instances of anti-Semitic incidents. These incidents use the dog whistles that keep anti-Semitism alive. Now, that last illustration that I offered, some might call, and some have called, the great replacement theory. But tonight and before, I implore us not to use the word theory, because using the word theory suggests that that notion can legitimately compete in the marketplace of ideas. There is no legitimacy in the notion of replacement. No one is out there to replace anyone except for the haters who wish to rid our nation of racial, ethnic, religious, and gender minorities. I would instead use the term delusion, replacement delusion. Call it for what it is. There are other delusions out there, however. Not all of them come from white nationalists, because I also must mention the Jew hatred that bubbles up from the progressive community. True that many Jews feel at home on the left side of the political spectrum, yet emanating from that side are anti-Semitic memes and actions that are unmistakable and just as dangerous. For example, left-wing activists may, at times, express legitimate objections against the policies and actions of the government of Israel in relation to events in Palestine or against Palestinians. But sometimes their criticism devolves into messages of anti-Zionism, denying even that we Jews were also indigenous peoples in the land of Israel. Some of that language then crosses over the border into anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism from the left is particularly insidious when it comes from nominal friends of ours, because we have witnessed Jews being ostracized from progressive groups and causes because they, as Jews, are seen as being inextricably tied to a racist and domineering country of Israel. Recall those lesbian Jewish pride marchers in Chicago, New York, and Washington in the last couple of years who were ousted from those events because they carried Jewish symbols with them that group organizers declared to be symbols of Israeli oppression. Witness the Washington, D.C. affiliate of the Sunrise environmental movement that banished 3 Jewish groups from its anti-climate change activities last fall for the same reason. And by the way, one of those groups, as many here may know, was our own Religious Action Center of Reform Judaism. These unfortunate episodes bespeak a willful ignorance of Jewish identity and history. But something similarly dangerous happens every day in local communities. In my case, I've been, blindsided by some of my non-Jewish clergy colleagues. Their national or regional bodies pass platforms and resolutions that are anti-Israel and touch upon anti-Semitism, and then we are expected to work together as interfaith buddies as if nothing has happened. I don't think these are microaggressions, friends. I think they're hurtful and uneducated assaults. And this is not even to mention the more egregious incidents of anti-Semitism that we in Madison see, the recent tagging at 5 Jewish student organizations at the University of Wisconsin in Madison is only one in a series of bias-related events. And each day, I receive in my email an authorized version of a compendium of Jew hatred from across the country and around the world. Not a day goes by without some anti-Jewish assault being reported there. Let us know if you'd like to receive that compendium. I'm sure that you're able to. Don't. Those like me who believed that anti-Semitism would disappear from the world only if we, or only the world, became modern and enlightened, we were wrong. Believe me, I'll say my own al-chet, my own confessional for my myopia. But the broader reality is that such prejudice endangers a group of people larger than us, because echoes and memes of hatred that start maybe here or start elsewhere spill all over against people of color and members of the LGBTQ community. Histories of Jew hatred are underscored by book banning and, yes, book burning, even in America in our times. You can look it up. And anti-Jewish bigotry comes forth in expressions of fear of immigrants all over. While our anti-prejudice response needs to be assertive, however, it also needs to be positive. Because like Isaiah, I don't believe we can ever leave our place as moral teachers, as arrogant as that might seem to some. I am reminded of a more modern prophet who understood hateful words and actions, and then he produced his own antidote. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel once reminded us that just to be is a blessing, just to live is holy. And we cite that a lot, but in his mind there is more. Heschel left us with a question that needs our individual response and our communal response. Existence may be a blessing, but my friends, we also need to act, because this is his entire thought. Just to be is a blessing, just to live is holy, and yet being alive is no answer to the problems of living. To be or not to be is not the question. The vital question is how to be and how not to be. Because we, my friends, can rage and rally against anti-Semitism and other hatreds, and we do, both within and without our family. But how does this inform our everyday behavior? What values and principles must our lives reflect to others? There are, as you can imagine, many hows through which we bring goodness to the world, and one of them is through a sincere understanding of ourselves, our motivations, and our actions. In the ethical tradition of Judaism called Musar, we have developed a way of analyzing key aspects of our behavior and improving them. And one part of this thinking now, maybe you've heard this before, I bring for our consideration. The value I refer to is the character trait of a healthy and rational humility, which can be summed up in this phrase: no more than my space and no less than my place. Meaning this: we each have a place in the world defined by geography, psychic presence, personality, role in life, many other metrics. And it's crucial that we claim this rightful space for ourselves. We believe this to be an entitlement of every human being. Therefore, the first part of this concept acknowledges that no one may claim more space than they genuinely require. Narcissistic and self-centered behavior is contrary to the way God desired humanity to be. Such behavior demeans others and deprives them of their rightful space. The second part of this idea stresses that none of us deserve anything less than our rightful position. It is not unhumble to claim and maintain that which is rightfully ours. No more than my space and no less than my place. Let us consider what this can mean to us today at the beginning of our 10 days of repentance. Look, we Jews always search for a place where there is righteous motivation, righteous moderation, righteous thinking, and righteous assertion, righteous behavior. In this way, we maintain that unique beauty that caught the eye of that soothsayer Balaam as he watched from the hills above Israel's encampment. Now, whether Balaam existed or not, whether we deserve those accolades and prophecies or do not. Let us continue to seek dignity for ourselves and others in this world of ours. Truly, all humanity can strive toward a meaningful present and a vibrant future when each nation, each tribe, and each person finds their best humble and human purposes, when we each establish our place in the world and safeguards the precious human character that we all carry. May this be what we strive for in the new year, and may all of us be with one another and with God along our pathway of life. May this be a sweet new year for us all. Shana Tova.